This is Straight to Video podcast. I was watching the one of the ones I did before. It has like a little bit of a delay. I don't know why. It's like it looks like one of those old almost one of those Asian movies. I feel like that might be racist. One of those like old kung fu movies, like Bruce Lee movies. And it's just like where he's like there's obviously someone talking English over it and dubbing it, and that's what it looks like. Looks like I'm getting dubbed over. I don't know how to fix that. If someone's watching this, if anyone's watching this, my views are going straight down. Like I was at 60 at one point. Now I'm like at 17. I don't know what the hell I'm doing to piss you guys off. And the new branding really pissed people off, I guess. I don't know what happened. I have Atticus right here, so if I'm acting weird, it's because my dog's right here. I just want to make sure he's not going to piss on the floor. There's De La Hoya. They hired someone. They're working out their TV deal, right? They're trying to figure out where they're going to go with the TV. And Golden Boy is a hell of a promotion. They know the business. They understand it. They know how to bring up fighters. They have two possible stars, right? And Ryan Garcia and Virgil Ortiz, right? And they can fight. They got ability. It looks like you could build a fan base with these guys. But so right now, all they could put together is four cards a year. Now, I don't know if that's because DAZN cut the money on them. I don't know if they have the roster to fill up any more cards than that, but their cards are pretty packed. They're some of the best cards of the year, but there's only four. So, like, if you sign with a network, what isn't a network going to want more than that, right? Aren't they going to want a little more consistent programming? So I'm curious, like, if the money gets better for Golden Boy, are they going to be able to pull together the roster to have these fights? And what strategy are they going for? It seems like DAZN honestly makes the most sense for them, just because DAZN has Matchroom. So, and the way the programming works is like, they get to decide when they put it on. They don't need to fill in every second of the day because it's a streaming service. So that seems like that makes sense. But I'd be curious to see like an NBC or CBS or one of them. I just don't know because De La Hoya, right, is so more curious about his fighting career. I think that the part they let slip was like the roster. And at one point they had Canelo Alvarez, the biggest star in boxing, and they couldn't keep that because De La Hoya couldn't get out of his own way. He couldn't get out of his own way to keep Canelo Alvarez. So now he has two guys though. He keeps coming with these stars, right? And he has the market, like the Mexican American market, who they grew up with De La Hoya, they know the brand, they trust it, and they signed with him. And it's like, can he take it to the next level, or is he too much of a problem to do that? Because it seems like he's still worried about fighting. It's so stupid. It's like no one gives a damn about him fighting. Honestly, like him fighting Vitor Belfort, like what does it do but help him? It doesn't help the brand. It's not even under Golden Boy. That's the stupidest part about it. It's not even under Golden Boy. It's not even helping he could have just used that to sign like a TV deal with someone and been like, I'm going to come back. So you're also getting me. This is how out of, like not together everything is. He's fighting and it's not even for Golden Boy. Think about that. Think about Mayweather fighting and it's not for TMT. It's not for Mayweather Promotions. Think of Canelo fighting without his promotions. Even Charlo and them. The Charlo's fight with the Lions only promotion. De La Hoya is going to fight, make money, and not even use that to negotiate for his fighters. Like to use that to get his fighters a better TV deal, a more opportunity. That's ridiculous if you think about it. That's really ridiculous. I don't know what De La Hoya is thinking with these fights and the comeback, and it's sad. We all know it's sad. Like, I think we're afraid to say that it's sad, or I don't know. I'm not afraid to say it's sad. I was the biggest De La Hoya fan. I thought De La Hoya was one of the most talented guys. He was the most exciting. He was like a superstar. I mean, I know people were saying like his pay-per-view numbers weren't as great as we all make it out to be, but I guess, I don't know. That when De La Hoya was big, he was big. Okay, everyone knew who De La Hoya was. Everyone watched when he did it. Like when he fought, everyone watched. But it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like he can, I don't know, shape that. And he has good things. Like I'm telling you, there's something I was explaining. It's like you could give people some people, right? And I'm not talking race. I'm not talking everything. I'm just talking about a mentality. Right? It's like some people just stay broke. Even with money, they stay broke. I think De La Hoya just honestly stays broke. Even with money, he stays broke. There's no helping him. He's going to do things that you're just like, I don't get why you're doing this. And like Canelo said, he's worried about him. He's worried about other things. He's not worried about the business. Because if you had Canelo, look at Eddie Hearn. You don't, you do everything for him. You throw everyone else on the on to the back seat, and you be like, Canelo, you're my guy. We're gonna ride this all the way to the moon. And he couldn't stop talking about him fighting Canelo. That's how stupid he is. Mayweather called it. Dana White called it, and everyone starts calling it. It's like there has to be some truth there to it. What the hell's the dog? I don't know. He gets into stuff that he shouldn't. I have no idea. I'm running out of patience with this dog. Hey, what do you got? You could play That's a Mask. Okay. So yeah, I'm curious to see if they could get the right people in place, and seem like they have the right matchmaker. They seem like they have the business side of it. Whoever's taking care of it, because I know it's not De La Hoya. But whoever's taking care of it is smart. They're making the right moves. I've been really impressed with the cards. I've been really impressed how they've been building the cards. That Ryan Garcia Jojo Diaz fight makes all the sense in the world. I've been calling that since February. That was to me, that was the obvious play. And I thought that when Jojo Diaz had got the draw, that it really delayed it, but then they got the Fortuna opportunity with Ryan Garcia pulling out of that. And then they gave it to Jojo Diaz, smart move, and they build him up with a credible opponent. And now he had Haney, he had Tank, and he had Ryan Garcia. And it was like, I don't know why people questioned whether he was going to fight Haney or Tank. No, he's going to fight Ryan Garcia because they're under the same promotion. It's like, why would the Golden Boy give up any money on that? And Ryan Garcia's Tank would have been a really big fight. But I'm saying Ryan Garcia's a really decent sized fight for having it under your same banner, like not having to cross the street or find another promotion. And that's going to be in Staples Center. It's going to be huge. That's going to be that's like Ryan Garcia's coming out. It's like the A side, possible pay-per-view star, because that's what it's coming to. I mean, if you can't see that, I see a lot of people doubting him on that, but he's a future pay-per-view star as long as he keeps winning. Yeah, and even if he loses here and there, his style is so entertaining that you're always going to want to watch. You're always going to want to watch that. So Golden Boy is in an interesting situation with their roster and their business side of it. It's good. It's just like, can De La Hoya get out of the way? I don't know if he can. And just thinking about him talking on Triller, like when he was all drunk and he's like, I'm just, I don't know what the hell he was saying, but it's just, I don't pay attention. Like when he talks and he says, I'm like, come on, baby. He always says that now. It's like, dude, just shut up. You're losing money. Every time you talk, you lose money for the company. It feels like. Corey Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw is a hell of a fight, and TJ Dillashaw really he brought his A game. Like he got outstruck in that fight. There's no doubt in my mind he got outstruck. When Corey Sandhagen was following some fundamentals with just like 1-2s all day, he was lighting Dillashaw up. But Dillashaw brought in like 3 different techniques. Just like what he did was just show me like he's a high level fighter. Just like why he was champ. Why he's considered so good. It's just like he brought so much to the table, like in that fight. And Corey Sandhagen wasn't there yet. Like he wasn't ready to get there. He may never get there. Honestly, he may never get there. What that fight was, even if you felt like Sandhagen won, right? It left me a lot of doubts, like in Sandhagen, just because it's like he didn't see what was benefiting him in that fight. He did not see it. Like he didn't see what was hurting him, but he didn't see what was benefiting him. Even if he thought he won, or if he did win the fight, right? He still didn't see that. Like I would think, there was things that obviously were working for him. There were things that obviously weren't working for him. He never adjusted or changed any of those things. He didn't. He just kind of stood with the same thing, and what worked from the beginning worked at the end, and what didn't work from the beginning he kept doing it at the end. That's like the levels of you got to have having the mind in there to be able to see what's happening. Dillashaw started seeing what was working and he started switching it quick. And then he even went through injury and was just like, okay, I can't do this no more, so I'm just going to do this. And the leg kicks really saved him. They really saved him at the end. The leg kicks really held off Sandhagen and interrupted Sandhagen's striking. TJ Dillashaw is just a damn good fighter. All that, like the PEDs, and everything like that, that's probably going to be talked about at the end of his career, like how great he is or what we think he is. It's going to be, that's always going to be there now. That's always going to be there. I was talking about, and I was bringing this up to my brother, about like, all right, Spence fighting Pacquiao, and I talked about this before. Have you heard this before? I'm just kind of just going on this idea again. I think every fighter, right, every like currently should be rated a 1 through 10 on what number the win gets you. Like Pacquiao in his prime was a 10. Biggest star in boxing, pound for pound, top 2 guy for a long time. If he wasn't 1, he was 2. They probably switch with Floyd over and over. He was a 10. Now he's not a 10 anymore. So what is he? Earl Spence fights him. Earl Spence is a 10. Earl Spence is arguably one of the best guys in boxing right now. He's the champ at 147. He has the toughest resume at 147. It's between him and what's his name? I'm blanking on his name right now. Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman has a pretty decent resume too, but he has lost to Pacquiao, right? But what is Pacquiao's out of 10 right now? Is he like an 8 or is he a 7? I think he's somewhere around the 8 or 7. I want to say 8. I want to say he's 8 because he beat Thurman, took 2 years off, but he still has that win over Thurman. And nothing has shown us that he might be declining besides, his age. Besides, us knowing that he's had 2 birthdays since then. But I think that every fighter, and I would like to go back in the history of it and just be like, what was Roberto Duran's number when Thomas Hitman Hearns knocked him out? Because he wasn't a 10. So what was he? What credit? Not all wins over a name are equal. You know what I mean? Like there's guys that beat Chavez Senior. It's not the same. It's not the same number as when other guys beat him. More towards his prime. When even like Chavez Jr. when Anderson Silva beat him, right? That's not the Anderson Silva that fought Sergio Martinez. It's not it's not the Chavez that fought Sergio Martinez, not the Chavez that fought Canelo, which it was diminishing at every point. What number was he at? Because I think that Chavez is honestly like 1. I think he's honestly a 1. He's a 1 out of 10. I don't think anything of that fight or anything of beating him right now, especially at a higher weight. I think that this conversation has to happen because you're gonna have big names, right? And the more these guys are fighting as they get older, guys have a bunch of guys on their name on their resume. Like he beat this guy, and it's like, well, he didn't, not really. You know what I mean? Not to fool him. What number was he at that point? And I'm gonna say Pacquiao's he's an 8 right now. I think if you beat Pacquiao, you get an 8. You get the 8 from him, the 8 points from him. He's not a 10. I think Earl Spence beats him with an 8. That's still a solid number. It's probably better than any number else in that weight division besides Crawford. Who would be higher? Who would have a higher number than Pacquiao in the welterweight division? So I would think that Spence is a 10. I would say Crawford's a 10. Pacquiao's an 8. What's Keith Thurman right now? Keith Thurman's I would say Keith Thurman's probably he's probably like a 7 right now. What's Porter, a 7? Boots Ennis, right? Boots Ennis, we have a lot of hype on him, but I don't think he's a 10. I think Boots Ennis is he's probably a 6 right now. Another win probably get him in the 7 range. Virgil Ortiz, 5 or 6, right around there. Top prospect that we all kind of recognize that he could be something. And same thing with Boots Ennis, but they haven't proven anything yet. So how you couldn't get more points for it? Canelo, when he fought Mayweather, what was he out of 10? What was Canelo out of 10? I say he was probably an 8. He's probably an 8. I think he was at 154. He was pretty much considered the champ, right? At 154, he was considered the best guy at 154, even though a really early age. Yeah, I would say he's. This was before Cotto. Yeah, I would say he's about an 8 or 7. He's around that range. Mayweather right now, right? Like say Mayweather came back. He's not a 10. Age-wise, he's not a 10. Mayweather would be like an 8. He'd be like same thing as Pacquiao. I'd say he's like an 8 right now. And then, like I said, Pacquiao loses Spence, and the number drops down more, how bad he loses. If it's a close fight, then, split decision, then it might increase his number. You know what I mean? He's still viable. Or it might decrease Spence's number. I just think we have to kind of grade that like that because there's going to be a lot of guys get a lot of wins. against big names, especially as we continue fighting older, and it's not the same thing. It's, you know what I mean? But it does get tough because like Roberto Duran, right? I was watching a documentary on it, and it's like, okay, he went through a point where he lost to like a no name fighter, and then he got motivated again. He came back and won the title at 154. But I guess the number adjusts. It always adjusts, and it drops and goes up, drops and goes up. I would like to do this for like every current fighter right now. What is their number? I don't have the time to do it, but I think I think we have to do it. I think that's really important in boxing. Be like, what's the number? And how many points is that? And that's how you could decide like all-time greats. It's like, well, what was his, every time you win, you get those guys' numbers. So you get that 8. If you're going through like Spence and he beat Porter, who was probably a 7 at that point. He beat Danny Garcia, who was probably a 7 or a 6 at that point, beats Pacquiao with an 8. It's like his resume just starts adding up, and you can compare it to other guys and be like, well, this guy had a 78 by the time he retired. This guy had 79 by the time he retired. So we can start comparing all-time greats. I think that's the best way to go about it, because if you start just looking at names, I think it gets it gets a little muddy. Like, you can't really see, what are these wins really worth? I heard a debate. I was on. I try to talk on Chicken Talk. I don't know if you know if anyone knows what that is, but that's on on Twitter, boxing Twitter. If you're into boxing Twitter, you know what that is. These guys have like an open forum conversation, and it gets intense. They have a lot of good points, a lot of real boxing heads in there. Like they know their stuff. If you go in there not knowing your stuff, they're gonna bring up undercards. They're gonna bring everything. You have to know your stuff if you're gonna talk on there. They were arguing towards the end of it. Someone brought up Jermell Charlo, if he was top 10 pound for pound. And it's just really, to me, with Jermell, it just really depends on how you see your pound for pound. Another thing I'm curious is, okay, so say like people think that, it was a robbery against Castano. Do we go off of what the actual result is? Or do you get to decide, well, no, he didn't win that fight, so I'm going to drop him down pound for pound. And then I know it's like, the one I think everybody can understand is, if there was no weight class, right? It's why we have a pound for pound list. We had no weight classes. Would these guys be able to, who would beat who type of thing? So I think it goes resume, skill level, as on who, if they were all the same, who would win who, or, what I mean? And then you resume that and talent, right? It would have to say your talent. But I think that sometimes guys make it just, and even if the guy got the win, they don't give him the credit for it. Or if they feel that the fight was closer than it should have been, they don't get the credit. They don't get the credit for it. So it's tough. Like the pound for pound thing is tough because it's like judging a fight. Everyone is making up their own mind with their own rules and their own what they prefer. It's how are you? I get arguing it, like it's a good thing to argue, but at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm like, it doesn't really matter, I guess. To me, Jermell is top 10 pound for pound. To me, he's top 10 pound for pound. He cleaned out 154. And even if he has Castano and there was a draw, and whether he thought he won or lost, whatever, it was a draw. I go off the official what they gave me, right? It was a tough fight. I think Castano's a real deal. So it doesn't diminish what Jermell is to me, because I think Castano's a really good fighter, right? Got a draw. He's still the king of that division till Castano, they had that rematch and they figure out who wins that fight. And he cleaned out a really tough division with really good competition. Now, were those guys he beat in the top 10 pound for pound? No, but it's really hard to be in the pound for pound. And a lot of times you won't have, multiple guys from the same weight in the same pound for pound. You won't. That's how you get in the pound for pound. You dominate one weight class, and then you have to wonder, like, okay, what would happen if he was up 20 pounds with this guy? You know what I mean? That's why Pacquiao and Floyd was so huge, because it was like 1 and 2 pound for pound in the same weight class. Or, we can actually do this and figure this out. But I just think you have to have Jermell in your top pound for pound. I mean, he's done it. And he does it in impressive fashion. Like, when he beats him, when he really beats him. That's usually the case. And when the Tony Harrison fight, like I said, I count all the results. And I know he lost the fight, but he won and revenged it. And in big fashion. Like, he got the KO. He put the, the period on that sentence and saying this is done. This is a done deal. My dog's attacking me. I think it's a good time to call it right there. Thanks for listening to Straight to Video Podcast.